Hello, I am Advocate Manjunath Mandrekar. This is my short review of ARC suspension. So, I own a 2021 model Thar, and as most of the people are aware, that Thar comes with an inherent problem. Basically, the suspension is not up to the mark. So, whenever you are driving on highways or even on bad roads, so it is very harsh, and the side movement is very violent. So that is precisely why I decided to change my suspension. The first thing that I would like to mention is about body roll. As most of the people are aware, the body roll is significant in Thar. So much so that when you're driving on highways at a very high speed, so you don't feel very confident. You don't have that sure-footed feeling. So after changing my suspension, I can vouch for it that the body roll has almost disappeared, and now you feel more confident, vehicle feel compliant and very sure-footed at high speeds. And when you're driving on highways, because of that stability and that cornering, so you feel more confident. The second point that I would like to add on is about comfort. So there is significant improvement in comfort. So basically, for me, this vehicle, I'm using it as a primary vehicle, and whenever I have to go anywhere with my family, so I have to use same vehicle. So having said that, so now it is very important that if you are using your vehicle as your family car, the comfort is the first priority, because you may, as a Jeep lover, may not have any problem adjusting with the stiff suspension, but you cannot expect your family members to do so. So that was the second reason. So after changing the suspension, vehicle feels very comfortable on even on bumpy roads, on broken roads, and even on bumpy highways. Our highways are very bumpy, and I can say that after changing this suspension, the feel has improved to a great extent. So now I can confidently take this vehicle on long journeys, which otherwise was not possible. So I was not even considering it as you know a vehicle which can be taken for long distance journeys. But after changing the suspension, I am confident that now it will be very comfortable on long journeys. Now, a couple of other things which I have noticed after changing suspension is uh, basically the feel of the brake has improved. So I don't know how that is related to the suspension, but this is what I have observed, that before vehicle used to, whenever used to brake, vehicle used to nosedive. So now that has disappeared. So when you apply your brakes, so vehicle is in better control, and it feel uh, calm and composed. Secondly, what I have noticed is, whenever I used to change gear, so there has to be a slight jerk. So I has to feel that jerk. Even that jerk has disappeared. I don't know how that is connected to the suspension, but this is what I have noticed in my vehicle. Even my 8-year-old son was in a position to, make out the difference between the my stock suspension and the new suspension, because he loves vehicles, especially jeeps. So when I was dropping him to the school, so on a particular stretch of road, so he said, Papa, on this stretch the vehicle is to behave, it is to be very bumpy and very, used to have that unsettled feeling. So he said, now it feels very comfortable and very, it feels planted. So even I was even surprised to see that even a 8-year-old boy can identify the difference between the suspension. So now the question is whether it is worth installing. I will definitely say yes, because the simple reason that after changing the suspension, your vehicle will feel much better. You know, in one word, if I have to put it, so I will say, it feels plush. It is not the entire suspension which is changed. Basically, there is no modification. Only the shocks are changed, and the stock shocks are replaced with ARC shocks, basically. So it is not the entire suspension. And even after changing just shocks, I am surprised that you get such a good response. My vehicle is installed with I have installed a dash cam on my vehicle, and whenever you apply brake suddenly, or whenever vehicle experience any jolt or any jerk, so that moment is captured in that dash cam. So earlier, whenever I used to go from my place of residence to my workplace, so I used to have at least three or four jolts which were recorded on the dash cam. However, after changing this camera, now hardly any jolts are recorded. So that may be the reason, because since the suspension is absorbing most of the bumps, and you don't feel those jerks and jolts anymore. Maybe that is the reason why now it cannot feel that, or it cannot record that sudden jerk, which even I have noticed that those jerks have disappeared. Initially, I was not very sure about installing this suspension, because spending 65,000 for suspension was, I was not very sure whether it is going to make any difference or not. So it so happened that I got in contact with Mr. Pawar, and he gave me contact of one person from Goa. So I got in contact with that person, and he was extremely happy about the suspension. So much so that he was even ready to give me a demo of his car. So that made me more confident, and I was eager to test it myself and take a call. And it so happened that I took test drive of Mr. Pawar's demo car, and it just took me a couple of minutes to take a decision. So in just by driving it for a few kilometers, I immediately noticed the difference between my Thar and their demo vehicle. And within a couple of minutes, I decided that I would like to get the suspension at the earliest. And on the very next day, we got it installed. And by just driving it for a couple of kilometers, I immediately noticed that there is significant improvement in ride and handling. The only thing what I would like to suggest is that, as far as my opinion is concerned, I have a very positive feedback with respect to ARC suspension. But any person who is interested in buying ARC suspension, don't take my word. You can very well take a test drive of any of the demo vehicle of Mr. Pawar, and I can assure you that you will be happy, and you can take your decision very easily. So I hope this video is informative. And the last thing that I would like to add is, now this feedback or this review, what I have recorded, so I have not received any remuneration for this. So this is just recorded with the intention of helping the fellow Thar users who wanted to buy something which is worth considering and which will add some value to their product. Here you can see the beautiful view of Arsem village, Goa, and here you can see my Thar.